Hello, welcome back to Beauty Bee. Today's video is going to be something a little bit different. I'm talking today about 5 products and 3 application techniques that I used to love back in ye olden days. In this case, meaning probably 2013 to 2016-ish. And when I was just starting to get into makeup, that I don't think I would like now at all. I'm going to follow this video up at the same time next week with the opposite. 5 products and 3 application techniques that I hated when I started getting into makeup. I didn't understand the point of them, I didn't think they looked good on me, etc. And now I'm pretty sure that if I tried them again, I would adore them. So let's get into it, starting with the products. The first one that immediately popped to mind was this e.l.f. powder that I had. I don't entirely know the name of it, though looking through e.l.f.'s website, if it is still an existing product, this would be the Prime and Stay, I'm pretty sure, in the shade light medium, unless they had a fair light, in which case that's definitely the one I would have gotten. In any case, this was a terrible powder. It was very scratchy. I don't know how a pressed powder can be rough. I mean, I understand that an eyeshadow could have somewhat rough glitter in it, etc., but no, like you could rub your finger over this and it would be rough to the touch, not like sandpaper, but maybe a very fine grained sandpaper. And the way I would use this was that I would take the puff that came with it, I would wipe it through the product, and then I would wipe it over my nose because I thought that I had blackheads on my nose. I didn't. It was, normal sebum, but I was pretty sure they were blackheads. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it definitely left like a little bit of this sort of yellowish cast all over my nose. Luckily, or unfortunately, I'm not sure, no one was ever rude enough to point it out, but it was definitely a choice, and I think that it was probably not a good one. The second product is very much of the same time period, the NYC Sunny Bronzer. Now, I think the reason that I purchased this was on Emily Noel's recommendation. She had it, so she said it was a great, easy, subtle bronzer that would work for pretty much anyone who was lighter. Now, I didn't realize at the time just how much darker Emily Noel is than I am, and how much more of a neutral to maybe even slightly warm undertone she has in comparison to my quite fair cool tone skin. This looks orange. I thought that it looked great at the time, but it was orange. It was definitely orange. And I used to think that because it was matte, you could contour with it. So, yeah. 2015 was a rough year, okay? I just had my little sunny bronzer contour under my cheekbones. It was, again, a choice. We live and we learn, eh? Number 3, the Wet n Wild Silk Finish lipstick, particularly in the shade Sunset Peach. Now, I actually still own one of these. I own, I believe it's called like Dark Pink Frost or something. And it is a medium pink with, as you might expect, quite a bit of frost. Now, I think all of these silk finish lipsticks are actually pretty frosty. This one in particular was this orange with quite a bit of sort of a reddish gold cast to it. And I am sure that on some people, this would be stunning. But it didn't really work with my skin tone, and I wore it because it was so interesting looking. And it was a very pretty lipstick. It was the kind that I think if I owned it today, I would swatch it and I would just look at my hand and kind of see how it caught the light in different ways and enjoy it, but not use it. But I loved that lipstick. I went through the tube that I had in probably 6 months or less. And when it was done, I remember being very disappointed because I could not find the exact same shade in my local drugstore. I don't remember if that was a Walgreens or a CVS at that point because it was such a good shade. I thought it wasn't, but I missed it when it was gone. The last 3 products I'm realizing now are actually all lip products, which I guess isn't that surprising. I was always a bit more adventurous with my lips than I was with my eye and cheek products. So it makes sense that if you're taking more risks, you're probably going to see some pretty big hits and some pretty big misses. And I think these were all misses, even though I really did like them at the time. The first would be the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit lipsticks. I had, I think, 3 of these. There was quite a light peachy coral shade, which I could not figure out the name of based on the Wet n Wild website. There was also a bright purpley, very pink shade called, I think, either Berry Recognized or Nice to Fuchsia. I think that those were the names. And I don't think that the light coral was a great choice for me overall. It was very white based and it was just a strange color. I thought that I could make it work with only one of my shirts, which was also almost the same color. And what I'm realizing is that both the lipstick and the shirt just didn't really work for me. The combination of them was probably pretty great though. They just flaked off my lips, which felt gross. And they were so dry. I mean, I have pretty okay lips most of the time. They're not particularly prone to dryness. And I can usually handle pretty much any liquid lipstick for at least 1 day. And some formulas I can get away with wearing multiple days in a row. These were like, get home, immediately take them off, put lip balm on, and don't wear another one for like 3 days. And in addition, they didn't actually last that long. I mean, they lasted okay at the very edges of your lips, but once I ate lunch, it was gone in the middle. And it didn't really layer well over itself, so you couldn't just reapply. You had to take it off, which was a process, and then you had to start from scratch. Such a pain. The colors were, the fuchsia was actually very pretty. I will give myself that. But I could have gotten a very similar look with a lot less fuss and in a much better formula. Now, the last product I have to talk about was from CoverGirl, and it was another liquid lipstick. These were the CoverGirl Outlasts, and they're one of those liquid lipsticks that's sort of old school and comes with 2 products. You would get a liquid lipstick and then you would get a balm. And the liquid lipstick itself was much like the Wet n Wild, very dry and uncomfortable, and it would flake off throughout the course of the day if you didn't keep applying the balm on top of it. Now, I had the shade, I believe it was called Ravishing Rose. Don't know why that's sticking out in my head, but I'm 90% sure that was the shade. And it was quite pretty. It was sort of a pinky rose color. I wore it quite a bit, and it was so uncomfortable. And again, there was so much hassle with it because if I went more than about an hour and a half without applying that balm, my lips hurt and it started to flake off, which, ew, gross. And of course, I went through the balm quite quickly because I felt like I needed to use it every 90 minutes. And then once the balm was gone, I tried using some other balms and just didn't feel like they worked as well. And it was for a nudie pink color. Like, why did I think that I needed to go with a matte liquid lip for a nudish pink? I didn't care at that point about formula. I didn't care if it was matte or if it was satin or just a little bit glossy. That didn't matter to me. I only cared about the color at that point. So why, for the easiest color to find in pretty much any lipstick range, did I think that I needed to go with it? The most uncomfortable style of matte liquid lipstick. Just, I have a lot of questions past Iris, and I don't think you can answer them. Now for a couple of application methods that I was quite into. I think these are all when I started getting into makeup. So this is all my freshman year at college, and no one's allowed to judge me for it. Okay, so number one is I used to have a dark purple eyeliner, and I would put it just under my eye. Not in the waterline, not even really that close to the lash line, because I just didn't have the control to do that. I'd put it under my eye. You could often see a space of white between my lashes and this purple line. And I didn't put the eyeliner on the top of my lid, and I didn't wear mascara or necessarily any eyeshadow, just this purple liner, and it was questionable. It was highly questionable. But you know, it was how my mom taught me to do my makeup, more or less. I mean, she was much better at it, and she managed to put a quite thin line right up against my lash. So it did look really nice. It made my lashes look a little bit thicker. I think it brought out the green in my eyes a little bit more. But my skill level was not there to pull off that look, and maybe I should have practiced it a bit more before I regularly took that out into the world. The second thing that I regularly did that I would suggest against these days was applying my blush with the little mini applicators that came with it. Now, I had two CoverGirl blushes. I had one of their little one-pan ones and one of the little three pans, I think the Instant Cheekbones and the Cheekers. And with both of them, the way I would use them is I would just work my way from left to right, swipe it, swipe it, swipe, swipe. And it was a stripe. It was absolutely a stripe. And I would wear this with the purple eyeliner. So it was kind of a lot, but it made me feel really good at the time. I felt put together, and you know, I really thought I was doing something. So many of the early offenders in my first makeup days were CoverGirl. Not because there was anything wrong with CoverGirl, just that was what I happened to buy when I was 18, 19 years old. So the way that I would do my eyeshadow quite often was I would just dip into the lightest shade in the palette, which in these old CoverGirl quads was almost always a white with sort of a cast of whatever the main color scheme of this mini palette was. Like, I had one that was purple based, I had one that was sort of a blue and green, which looked great in the hands of a 18-year-old who didn't know how to apply eye makeup, and I had shimmering sands, because didn't we all? And the way I would quite often do my makeup was just put white all over the lid. Now, in my head, it's like, I'm pretty fair. What would be the lid color on someone who is maybe more of a medium skin tone wouldn't make a reasonable lid color on me. I should go with something lighter. So that's what I did. And then I wouldn't add anything to define the crease or my lash line. I just had white eyeshadow everywhere. And because I also didn't know what eye primer was, by the end of the day, I would just have little stripes of practically glitter, it looked like at that point, because all of these shades were shimmery, of course, gathered in the little creases of my eyes. And I thought that was normal. I just thought that was what happened if you wore eye makeup. So thank you, YouTube, for teaching me that all of the things I did were somewhat less than ideal. Now, if you love these things or you do these things, no worries, no hate. I did them, I loved them, and most importantly, I felt really good doing them for a very long time. But tastes change, preferences change. I'm almost 10 years older at this point, and I don't think most of us would do exactly the same things now that we did when we were 18 years old. Unless, of course, you are 18, in which case, look forward to the future. It's a great time. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will let me know what questionable things you did when you were just getting into makeup, because I cannot be alone in my bad choices. I know I'm not. Thanks again. I hope you like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I really hope we'll see you next time.